And finally, it's arrived. I only had to wait about a week for this to arrive, and inside the box is no, not a toilet bowl. And for the life of me, I don't know why that letter P had to be designed like this. Inside the box is a bicycle that comes with a Pinion gearbox. That Pinion gearbox is the stuff of legends, and I will tell you more about it. But in this video, I'm going to open up the box and assemble the bicycle. Let's check out the box, see if it's even close to what I ordered. I ordered the model 600 in large size, which they call 21-inch. I hope you like black, that's the only color, and according to the sticker, it does come with the 12-speed mechanical, fully mechanical Pinion gearbox. So far so good. There's no indication on the box whether it comes with WTB's Volt seat or Pure. On the website both are listed. I wanted the Pure, and also no indication on the outside what tire this comes with. Again, on the website there is Goodyear and I think Continental choice of tires. I don't know what's inside the box, so let's cut it open. Priority specs the bicycle either with a Pure or a Volt saddle, and for tires there is WTB Horizon 47 millimeters versus Goodyear County Premium. The difference between the two, let's start with the tires. This is how the Horizon looks like. It's got this herringbone thread pattern to it, and it's possibly weighing a lot less than the one I have, this Goodyear County, which is meant to be, it comes with these big knobs, and I suspect these knobs on the sidewall here are gonna interfere with my fender, possibly, potentially. The Pure versus Volt, the Volt is medium padding and the Pure is thick padding, so I wanted the thick padding, more comfortable seats as I'm heavy. So did the bike come with the tire that I choose? No, it came with this. Did it come with the Pure saddle? Yeah, this one? Yes, it did. I guess lucky box. Ooh, let's have a look, see here. Looks like I've got two wheels, one frame, one Pinion gearbox down there, and there's got to be a handlebar here. Looking good. Let's clean up some cardboard here. Comes out of the box like this. So far so good. Let's inspect the fit and finish a little bit. It looks like a scratch and a chip. Maybe some glue residue. Yeah, okay, that's some glue. And hopefully that also comes, yeah. All right, no damage. Nice. Ooh, nice seat post. Feels like carbon fiber. And this is WTB's Pure saddle. This is the one I wanted because it has much thicker padding than the Volt model. And I'm heavy, 220 pounds, including blubber and whatever. Plus I carry a backpack on my shoulders, so all of that is going down to the sitting bone. So of course I don't know how well this is gonna work, but at least that's the one I wanted. Thank you, Priority Bicycles. Nice. Putting the seat post in the frame is fairly straightforward. You have to open the cam lock, and yes, this is a cam. The center point of rotation there is off center of this shape here, so there's less metal on one side and more metal there on the other side to provide a force, a pinching force on this clamp here. So very well prepared frame, and on the seat post you can see a line for minimal insertion, so at least this much should be sticking out, and then you have 5 centimeter, 10 centimeter, whatever lines and marks You can set the seat wherever you like it, to your heart's content. It's gonna be changed anyhow. I just wanted to line it up and lock it in place. So the cam lock comes in a position so that the closing of it clamps the seat post in place, so I didn't have to touch this bolt. But you may not be this lucky and you might need to touch it, loosen it, or tighten it accordingly. So wherever or however much force you want with your thumb. Obviously don't make it requiring gorilla power to close it. That's unnecessary. And of course, if it's too loose, it's just gonna sink into the frame and it's not gonna hold. I found during the first test ride that the seat tube was sliding into the seat post, so this bolt needs tightening, like so. Then clamping. Oh yeah, that's substantially better. Now the seat itself is also adjustable. You can tilt it forward if you don't like it horizontal, depending on your anatomy, as well as you can adjust it fore and aft. But this is maybe something you would want to leave to a bike fitter person who dials in your exact body geometry. The bike comes like this with the fenders not installed in place or partially on the rear one. Let me show you here. So these lower mounting points are not attached to the frame, which is fine. And that also means that the fender is partially attached to the frame at that point there, and at this point, this lower mounting point there. And this is the cable for the tail light, and it is somewhat tight. For sure you don't want it too loose, but it's kind of, it's okay there, but it kind of tends to be tight. While I'm down here at the pinion gearbox, I want to comment a little bit on the quality of weld. It's looking nice and evenly laid. It's not the fact that it's painted over, it's just nicely and evenly laid down with no other metal debris and welding spatter and anything. There's nothing here, so it's been cleaned up really well, and this welding quality is looking 10 out of 10. So this cable leading to the tail light seems to be a little on the tight side. It wraps around this part of the frame and comes from the dynamo, does not come from the transmission, aka gearbox. So I've spotted a little bit of cable slack inside the fender there. You're kind of looking at it, so I'll try to massage it around and make it just a little bit slacker. Inside the hardware box, all of this stuff was packaged. Not one of them is a set of instructions. So the instructions are online there. Contact Priority Bicycles if you need help, or watch this video. The brake manufacturer, Tektro, has their instructions. They even say that the tightening torque is 4 to 6 Newton meters for mounting the rotor on the wheel, which you have to do yourself. Skills involved: rotating the wrench, which they included, but of course they didn't include a torque wrench, which I'm gonna use. So such is life when you order from a direct to consumer manufacturer. So besides the brake stuff, you get this as well from Pinion, a warranty card, and everything else all in German. There might be something in English in it. This from Gates, do's and don'ts with the belt, more about them later, and a user manual, just a generic one. But what's really thoughtful is that they actually included a decent 15mm wrench to mount the pedals. They included touch-up paint Look at that. 4 stone chips, whatever, to make sure your bike looks 10 out of 10. And they included actual wrenches. That's very, very nice. Thank you, Priority Bicycles. Very important, this directional arrow must be facing in the direction of the wheel rotating. So the rotor is going to be on this side of the hub, because that's where the brake is on the bicycle, on the left side of the fork. And it does say explicitly so in the manual, the same thing. And when you put the bolts in, obviously you just have to place them carefully so you don't cross thread the little things. The bolts come with a dab of threadlock compound, the blue stuff. Don't wipe it off, and that's useful to keep the bolts in place. And this is the wrench that you're gonna need to use on not an Allen key or hex key. This is just a simple hexagon. And this one is, there's also 6-pointed, but it's hexalobular, if you like big words. So okay, so just pay attention. This is the tool that's intended for these bolts. And of course, for the torque wrench, I'm gonna need, this is Torx 25 or some such size. So that's a T25 hexalobular socket on a small torque wrench. Yeah, for your safety, you wanna tighten these bolts to exact torque measured by a torque wrench, looking and sounding like so. I've removed this plastic end cap that was protecting the end of the axle there, and I'm ready to put the quick release axle in place. I have to pay attention here how this one goes together. You can see there's a dished out surface that will meet the surface of the cam lock. This is a cam shape. It's the center of rotation is off centered purposefully, so it provides a tightening action here. So the cam lobe is thicker there, so make sure when you tighten it that the cam lobe lines up with the dish in this washer. And then one spring goes on one side like that, and you have to place this into the hub like so from this side, because you would want the handle on this side, not on the brake side. Put the little spring on, and let's see if I can do this with one hand on my knee. There we go. I'm compressing the spring on the other side with my knee, and then put the nut in place just roughly so they're together there. I'm ready to put the wheel into the frame, and it's fairly straightforward. But before you touch anything, don't take off this paper sleeve, because it's friction fit in place all the way down when it's properly in place. And I moved it up a little bit to show you what happens. So if you take it off, the spacers will slide up and this bearing will open up. I'm gonna pull it up a little more with bearing balls and whatever else inside. And you want to make sure that the bearings and everything here is lined up properly. So put everything back, put this paper sleeve back in place. You're going to need 2 hands on it, and then put the wheel in the frame. Now to put the wheel in, I had to remove 2 pieces of plastic spacers. This was obviously where the front axle is now and was holding up the fork legs, and this piece of flat plastic plate, it says remove on it, was between the brake pads where the brake rotor is now. So it's just orange, you just have to pull it out and you are good to go. Next up, you can connect the dynamo hub to the wiring harness. Remove the tape from the connector, and this is what you'll be looking at. It is a trapezoid shape. It's not a rectangle, so it will only connect one way. This connection point here can be rotated like so fairly easily, and you might want to get some length of this cable out from the fork. Don't just pull on it. You're gonna have to feed in some of the cable up at the top here, and so push through that hole in the frame, in the fork leg, and pull at the same time, and then minding which way this trapezoid connects. There, that's together. Make sure the spokes don't interfere with the dynamo cables. So when the axle is clamped in place, this nut here has to clear this ridge just like it is now. It has to be seated above it. So this little ridge and this little ridge are your safety features. Should this open in use, it doesn't just fall out vertically down, because those two ridges keep this nut from moving vertically down. The same safety feature is also on this end of the other fork leg, this one and this one. So when the axle is clamped in place, this round spacer has to clear both of these ridges, so pay attention there. With this quick release axle, the number of turns on this side will shorten this quick release skewer and will directly influence how much clamping force you need to exert to lock the axle in place. So set it up securely, but without needing excessive gorilla power or hand power to activate the cam or close the cam on the skewer. The kickstand is also mounted, you don't have to do anything with it. The rear brake is mounted, fully functional, don't have to do anything with it. The belt is obviously mounted and is also tensioned correctly by the factory, so you don't have to do anything. But for tensioning the belt, it works like a motorcycle's belt or chain, drive chain. So you have to loosen up the quick release axle and adjust the bolts to move the axle fore and aft. Fairly straightforward. So similar quick release skewer, cam lock action, the same clamping force, whatever concept, the same things apply. So these bolts, you don't have to touch these 4 bolts on this side and 4 bolts on the other side. The belt has been tensioned properly by moving the rear axle whatever distance away from the motor, the gearbox. A bit of a fit and finish issue. This is how the quick release arm looks like with these wrinkle lines on it. It's okay, I'll live with it. Now the fender, aka mudguard, is bolted to the frame at 2 locations there, but this part of the fender support wire comes wrapped in plastic on both sides, so you're gonna have to remove the plastic, but the bolt and the washer is threaded into this bracket here. So you have to take out the bolt, there is no thread lock compound on it, and place it in and tighten it. I tightened it to 5 Newton meters of torque, why not? And the same of course on the other side. The 5 Newton meters of torque is typical. It's printed in a couple of places. I don't know if it's on somewhere around here, but there it says 6 Newton meters there on the handlebar. The front fender mudguard also needs to be mounted and also set up. Right now it's been mounted, but it's not set up right. There's excessive gap there on this side, and it's touching the tire at the top, so it's not good just yet. The fender stays the ends of them are wrapped in some plastic. There are no bolts inside the plastic wrap. The bolts are here in the fork leg bracket. That's a bolt and the washer, same on the opposite side, exactly the same deal. So don't be looking for the bolt and the washer because it's in the fork leg. That's where you'll find it. Now, this bolt here, mounting the fender, comes singly, and it's a bit of a fight to set up the fender just right. You can see it's kind of symmetrical, but I want it just maybe a hair higher and maybe rotated a little bit this way so it's perfectly symmetrical and is perfectly centered around the tire, center of the fender to the center of the tire ideally. And to do that, I'm gonna need to raise the fender with a wad of this shop cloth and then holding one and this wrench in the other hand. Now, this rag was too soft. I had to use the handle of this brush and a little bit of a prying action here because your metal bracket is this long underneath the fender. So a little bit of geometric oddity is there. You can see that it's not quite possible to close that gap, and the curvature of the fender isn't perfectly matching the curvature of the frame, but this is close enough. Now look at the front here. I've loosened these two bolts at the end of the fender here, so you have to tighten these two bolts just right so that the front of the fender rises enough out of the way from rubbing on the tire. That's also why I wanted the other tire instead of this Goodyear, because I didn't want these huge knobs at the edge of the tire. Oh well, what can consumers do? Just take it or leave it. Tire clearance with this 2-inch wide tire is a bit of an issue at the corners here, but it's a normal vibration. Should keep the corners of the fender from hitting the knobs on the tire, but such is life. And down here, a similar tight gap situation occurs, so this is going to vibrate sideways. Eventually the knobs are going to be hit. So fenders are not made to exacting specifications, so a little bit of bending this out away from the tire should do some good to it. It's looking maybe a tiny bit better on this side, so I'm gonna have to custom fit this a little better, but it's not rocket science. So let's look at the cable management here. Obviously you have to unwrap the handlebar. The light was really well wrapped on it. This prism is loose, rattling usually, and then you have to slide it sideways and then tighten it somewhere. So let's look at the cables. So that from the dynamo hub, electrons travel through that wire exits there, that right side fork leg, and this wire, it doesn't matter what you do with the handlebar, it's going to be wrapped behind the fork leg, right fork leg, and that's very fine. That's how it should be. These are some cable ties that can be shortened or cut away or whatever you like with them, or keep the cables together. So this is how it's going to look like. Cable then continues well to the front light and then to the tail light, and then it's tight a little bit, so it needs a little TLC. The brake cable and the shifter cable are also wrapped around with this boa constrictor thing, and they enter the frame there. This brake cable here looks like this. Instead of one nice arch, it's got this loop on it that's only gonna get removed if I undo this clamp bolt here, remove this brake lever, and then fix it. It doesn't matter how you twist this whole configurations, because this is right, this is right, and this is just looking like this. I don't know if I like it this way. Now, these two spacer rings are about a centimeter each, 10 millimeters each. You could remove one and stack it up top here, or you could remove both and stack both of them underneath this cap for a more slammed position. And as you might have guessed from the writing here, the steering stem itself, this piece of metal, is also reversible. So instead of pointing up this much, it could be pointing more horizontal or whatever. So the steering geometry here can be tailored to suit you depending on how slammed you want to ride, what your rider triangle is between pedal, seat, and handlebar. So some people like it more upright, some people like it more forward. Of course, if you flip this one upside down, you're gonna have to undo those 4 bolts as well, and those tighten as well with 6 Newton meters of torque. This one is a 90 millimeter long stem, so from center to center, and there's also a degree number that goes with it, say 5 degrees up or something like that. The degree number might be on the underside here. I don't know. Maybe not. A couple of last adjustments. You might want to change the angle. This headlight is pointing, so you're gonna have to hold a wrench there and undo the nut here, and then pivot it up a little bit to your liking. Lastly, I'm not going to install these pedals prior to supply the bicycle with. Nothing wrong with the pedal. I am just going in a different direction. This is a clippy pedal, an SPD mountain bike pedal that works with these shoes with cleats on them, and I just wanted something like that, even if it's not quite a mountain bike. And to up it a little bit, I can put these road bike pedals on, which are power meters. So why would I want a $1,000 power meter on a $2,000 bicycle? Well, those road pedals work with these road shoes. These are triathlon shoes. You can kind of see where my imagination is going with this. If I shed the heavy wheels and put on some road going tires, I might be able to go fast with this bicycle. Keep in mind your brake pads, whose edges are green in this shot, need to bed in or wear in with the brake rotor, so your braking efficiency is not gonna be as good with a new brake as with one that's bedded in or worn in. So it might be a little less efficient than maybe you're used to. Once you've done mounting the handlebar with those 3 bolts, be sure to check out the brake levers on both sides in terms of their position on the handlebar. You see the left side is rotated slightly more forward than the right side, just ever so slightly. So whether you bring the left side up or push the right side down, it's up to you. Usually they want to line up the forearm with the back of the hand, so you're not holding on like this, but like this. Extend your fingers forward, and the brake lever should be right underneath, so you can ride two finger ride with your brakes covered. Yes, so that's why the fingers, back of hand, and forearm should be extended. So I'm going to rotate this one up a little bit, but before I do that, I'm going to try to untangle this cable twist here, just for no particular reason. And this alignment should be checked while you're seated in riding position. Right now I'm standing, so not now. Yeah, no, this brake cable just wants to lay that way. I did pull it off the handlebar, and to get it off the handlebar you have to get rid of the grip, which loosens up with that one screw, and then get rid of the collar and then pull it off. The grip itself should also be adjusted to your palm so it's where you like it, and then tighten it with the collar. So the grip attaches to the handlebar at 2 points at this collar, as well as to the end of the handlebar with a bolt that has an expandable plug on the inside. So you have to undo both to slide off the grip and to position it on the handlebar properly. Completely off the ground, free hanging, fully assembled with all fenders, both of the reflectors. I just added them on like so. The bike weighs that many kilograms or that many pounds. I guess it's pretty close to the manufacturer's specs.